I did a survey on Instagram and it was well over 50% of Black women said they have never heard their mother say, I love you.
I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. You are listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast, and this is your opportunity each and every week with me, Patrice Washington, to think about how we can continue to chase purpose, not money. And that's because we understand that the original definition of wealth was never just about money and material possessions. It was about the condition of well-being and happiness. And one way that we commit to our wellness practices is to be radically honest, even when we have to confront toxicity, and even when that toxicity is in our family and with the people that we love. Listen, today's conversation is going to be a bit difficult, especially if you identify with having parent wounds, namely mama trauma. If you identify with having a difficult relationship with your mother, this can bring up a lot, but I also believe that it hopefully will normalize some things for many of you who are listening, where we just haven't been raised to believe that it was safe to give voice to truth. And this is not about wanting to confront folks, but it is about being willing to confront our histories so that we are free to redefine wealth for ourselves, which means redefine love, redefine joy, redefine what family means, all the things of our lives that are always impacting us and therefore impacting our finances, even when we're not thinking about it. And so this conversation with Koeryelle is going to be so good. So let me read her bio, and then the next voice that you will hear when we get back from the affirmation of the week will be hers. Koeryelle is an award-winning podcast host and producer. She's been featured dozens of times nationally and internationally by outlets like Forbes, Essence, Black Enterprise, VH1, and so many more. Each week, she hosts the award-winning Girl Stop Playing podcast, where she encourages her audience to stop playing with their potential and start working for what they want in life and love. Koeryelle is the owner of Elevate Media, and she has the pleasure of supporting powerhouse entrepreneurs in developing and producing profitable podcasts. Most recently, she relaunched her nonprofit For the Culture Foundation in an effort to advocate for the Black family. After you hear this affirmation of the week, the next voice you'll hear is Koeryelle Mallard. This week's affirmation is, I have the courage to heal generations. I have the courage to confront toxicity head on, knowing that by doing so, I am breaking the chains of generational trauma. With love and resilience, I face the patterns that no longer serve me or my lineage, determined to create a legacy of healing and wholeness. I trust in my ability to transform pain into purpose, embracing the difficult conversations and actions necessary for true liberation. As I release the toxicity, I invite healing and renewal into my life and the lives of those who come after me. Each step I take in this journey is a powerful act of love and protection for all future generations. Declare with me today, I have the courage to heal generations. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Koeryelle.
I am finally here and excited to be here.
Koeryelle, how long have we known one another now? Is it like a smooth 10 years?
It has to be. It has to be at least 10 years for sure.
That's crazy. I knew you when you were not married, not a mother. I think you were still a teacher, or maybe just now transitioning out of being a teacher.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe 1 year removed.
Yeah. And we were actually introduced by like a mutual mentor and friend. And I will never forget, I met you at a Starbucks on Peachtree in Midtown. And girl, I think we sat and talked for so long. I might have been late picking my child up. We just hit it off from day one. And it has been such an amazing ride to watch you do all the things. You are such a trailblazer.
Thank you.
I have seen you create a magazine, do events, the podcast. I think I was one of your first podcast guests.
Episode 1, baby.
I was episode 1 back then. Oh my gosh. And your podcast has like transformed multiple times.
Yes. The magazine, you were the first cover girl for the magazine. Let's make sure we mention that.
Was I the first?
Yeah.
Girl, I still have that right here up in my office. Like, yes.
I definitely got one over here in the corner.
Of Work magazine. You have been a woman to watch, not just in Atlanta, but, nationally and beyond, globally, I'm sure, for so long. And I've always adored you. Anytime you've called me to do something, I'm always like, yeah, if I'm in town, if I can make it, I'm there because I know your heart and just how incredible you've always been. But I was watching a reel of yours not that long ago, and it was the first time I had ever heard you speak about healing generational trauma. And what I took away from what you were saying on the reel was that it takes truth. It takes truth to heal generational trauma. We can't just keep sweeping things under the rug. And this month on the Redefining Wealth podcast, all month, we've been talking about the power of giving voice to truth. Because I think that when we're not honest and we're not giving voice to our truth, it does block and prevent us from truly being able to pursue purpose as far as we could possibly take it. Because there's always these other conversations kind of going on in our subconscious or in the back of our mind. So with this huge platform and all the things you've been known for, what made you do the thing, the reel that I saw that I DM'd you about? How did we get there, friend?
The crazy thing is, even when I go back and look at an interview that I did on Sister Circle years ago, they asked me what made me get into women empowerment. And my answer, which in most of these interviews, I don't prepare for these interviews. So what comes out is literally like from God. And what I said in that interview was I had to experience the benefit of me empowering myself because I never had that. And when I peel back the layers, all of this work that I've done with the magazine, the books, the podcast, the events, they've all been in the empowerment space. And then when I dig deeper than that, it's like, because I had to empower myself. I literally had to pull myself up and be my biggest cheerleader and provide myself with the nurturing. And even now as a mother, having to remother myself, all of these things that, I was just out doing the things, but not really even thinking about why I was doing the things. The root of it is me creating what I've never had.
Mm-hmm. I see that too. I see that in myself, that typically, I always say purpose evolves, but what you really start to learn as you peel back the layers and you grow is that you were always leaning towards what you needed the most. I was always leaning towards wanting to create a space for women in particular to be radically honest, because I didn't grow up in a space where it was safe to be honest. If I talked about my needs, wants, or desires, they were quickly shut down or dismissed, or I was told I was doing too much, or who was I, or I was too dark, I was too black, I was too ugly, I was too this. So it became very ingrained in me to not give voice to truth, but to rather suffer in silence and just try to achieve so I could earn my way out of that environment. But what I've always really been doing is looking for spaces to become more radically honest so that I could just tell the truth. Because I feel like that was always in me. It just was quieted and dismissed for so long. So, okay, so take us back to, why did you not feel empowered when you were younger?
So the language that I've been able to put to it through having these conversations and therapy and soul searching and just the work, the journey of healing, is the mother wound. That's what it really boils down to. So all of these years I would go to therapy and I would say, I got mommy issues. That's what I would sit down and I would say. I got, people always talk about these daddy issues. That is what as a society, we talk about daddy issues. We never mention mommy issues, especially because the mother is usually, the person who is expected to have all the responsibility and take on, that nurturing role. So we put mothers on a pedestal and we don't ever talk about the trauma or the drama or the issues that can stem from either a lack of a relationship with your mother, a lack of a nurturing relationship with your mother, or, just some form of toxic relationship with your mother. So I knew that I did not have a nurturing relationship with my mother, but beyond her not saying I love you, I didn't really think we had like a toxic relationship. I didn't really think that anything was that different until I became a mother myself. And then going through, a traumatic birth experience and postpartum and all of these things, and having the one person who should be there, who should want to stand in and want to support and want to help and nurture, made a point to be like, you got it. Like it's made a point to not be there. And so in that experience, I started to look back at other things that have gone on just amongst my life, my childhood, adolescence, just our relationship, and just started pinpointing some of the things that were abnormal, some of the things that were unhealthy. And in thinking back to, my childhood, very early, I can remember almost being like a Cinderella kind of situation, but it wasn't my stepmom and my stepsister. It was my real mom and my real sister. It was always 2 against 1. It was always me against them. It was always Corey's so sensitive. It was always I'm the different one. And so I had to empower myself. Otherwise, I would have been lost in the sauce if I was waiting on somebody to cheer me on. And so that is why I say I've had to empower myself, because I didn't grow up with a cheerleader or a supporter or a support. So this is where the mother wound gets tricky as well, because support a lot of times we call support like clothing, feeding, providing, but support goes beyond. Support is showing up for emotionally. Support is being a safe space. And that is something that I did not get from my mother.
It's so amazing to me how many of us, self-included, of course, become so accustomed to certain behavior that we just normalize it. It takes so much growing and healing and therapizing and reading and doing all the things like conversing with others to realize, oh, wait a minute, that's not normal, or that's not what happened in your house. Even when I saw other things in other homes, I still leaned towards believing that what I was experiencing was normal. I was 20 something, 30 something years old before I had a therapist actually say to me, I'm so sorry that you were abused. And I was like, who was abused? What you mean by abused? Because I was never physically abused, but definitely emotionally and verbally by people in my family, not my mother, but definitely by people in my family. And it was so normalized that we just kind of laughed at it. Like, they just mean, or, that uncle just crazy, or, and it's just written off as normal. And now as a mother, and I agree with you, my daughter's 17 now, but throughout the years, as she's been, girl, I know Lil Reagan, that is 17 years old now, going to college soon. And at different stages throughout Reagan's development, when I think about things that were said to me, and I look at my daughter at 5, at 7, at 12, at 15, I could not even imagine using that type of language or demonstrating this type of behavior or giving her this type of just attitude that would just remove any sense of being able to have genuine relationship. As a mother looking at her, I'm like, I just can't imagine. The generational trauma had to stop with me, because by the time I was old enough to say, hey, I was treated like this and I don't think that was right, it was like, okay, well, so was I. So that made it better or acceptable, or I just need to roll with it? Yeah, no.
That's what it becomes, though. I think in so many of our families, the families that we come from, a lot of things are swept under the rug. When someone does speak up and is brave enough to be honest or share their truth, they're often shunned. the episode that I think you referenced earlier where I was talking about, my mommy issues, and I've talked about it several times on my podcast, but this latest episode just kind of blew up and thousands of women have come out of the woodwork, all ages. I'm talking teenage. I had a 15-year-old girl reach out to me like, my mama don't love me, to women who I think I saw like a 68-year-old woman in the comments. Like, I've never heard anybody talking about this. I've never had a safe space to talk about this, because there's so much shame tied to you having a problem with your mother. It's automatically turned back on you. It's automatically you are a bad person for having any type of issues with your mother. So the answer to that is, okay, I'm just not going to talk about it. The backlash that I have personally received from the podcast episode, you would have thought I was on there calling my mama out of her name. And the crazy thing is, I didn't say, and I have not said anything publicly that I have not said out of my mouth to my mother one-on-one, that I haven't put my grown woman panties on and had a conversation about to her. But the cousins and the sister that wants to come out of the woodwork and paint me as if I'm fabricating this experience that I had, that just adds another layer of, well, this is why nobody talks about these things, because it's hard enough to realize you got an issue. It's even harder to seek help for that issue. But talking about it, telling people your business, especially something shameful like me and my mama got issues, that's hard enough. So for people to throw on top of that the shame and the guilt that comes along with it, it's a lot. And it's no wonder why it continues to run throughout our family, because it's painful to be the one that stops it. It's painful to be the one that's outcasted because you won't keep quiet. So it's deep. It's definitely a generational trauma.
Yeah, I totally understand. When I first started saying that a part of why I struggle with self-esteem growing up is not, I always knew I was smart. So I leaned on, oh, I'm the smart one, but I never felt beautiful. I never felt pretty. I was ashamed of what I looked like all the way up till 25. And then it still took another 10 years of just like becoming comfortable with my features, becoming comfortable with what I look like. And it wasn't being teased at school when I started to just really share that it was more so what was going on in my household. It was really my family that did the most damage. I literally would have family members tell me that I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm sorry. I know exactly what I'm talking about. There are some things that I, to this day, will never forget. I have forgiven people. I have forgiven people who will never say I'm sorry, because that was a choice that I made. But I will never forget. I'm like fabricating, making it up. And especially from the people, it's like, you was the main culprit. You were the one. What you mean?
What's worse though, Patrice, beyond them trying to call you a liar, is them acknowledging the thing, but then minimizing it or downplaying it. Like, oh, you talking about that? Oh, but you were a kid. And it's like, these are things. And that's what is literally playing in my mind every single day. It is so much pressure to be an intentional parent. It is so much pressure to know that I don't want my son sitting up in a therapist's office talking about what they mama did unconsciously. There are literally, I can say something to my 3-year-old. My oldest is 3. And I know that I can say something to him that could completely change the trajectory of his life, because I'm determining how he feels about himself based on what I'm saying, based on what I'm doing, based on how I'm treating him. And so the minimizing of, oh, that was just this little thing, or, oh, that happened so long ago. We make monumental impacts on people just with the smallest thing. And so I think that a part of the healing is also just recognizing the impact that we make. We can't go back and change what they did to us, but we can definitely be more mindful and intentional about what we're doing and what we're saying to our kids. Like, Reagan is benefiting so much. That's the beauty in it. That's the blessing in it. It's like the experience that she gets to have, the mother that she gets to have, it's priceless. So the hard work that we have to do at the end of the day is going to be worth it.
It is. I'm already seeing it with her being this age now. I remember Reagan being about 5 years old, and me literally having to voice truth and tell her that it wasn't her, because Reagan's very affectionate. She came into this world highly affectionate, but I was not raised with affection. I was not raised with hugs and kisses and I love yous. That just was not normal in my household. And as a matter of fact, my grandmother in particular, when I would go to hug her, she would move. Like she would duck and move to the side. And that became normal to me, even as I was like, growing up. I remember one time driving down the street near the University of Southern California, where I attended college, and saw my grandmother walking down the street. And I had someone in the car and I was like, oh, that's my grandma. Let me give her a ride. And girl, we pulled up and I was like, grandma. And she looked at me and kept walking. And the girl was like, I don't think that's your grandmother. And I was like, I definitely know what my grandmother looks like. But, looking back, my grandmother, this was generational. My great grandmother was not affectionate with my great grandmother. My great grandmother was not affectionate with my grandmother. My grandmother was not affectionate with my mom. And my mom was so busy working and taking care of family that was back home in Belize that she didn't even have the luxury of, it felt like, hugs and all this extra stuff. She's much more affectionate now, but when I was growing up, no. And so even knowing that that didn't feel good and never intentionally wanting to do that, I remember Reagan being 5 years old and she would just be coming to hug and lean on me and, hold my neck and hold my face. And I remember one day seeing her face when I pulled away. She caught me off guard and I just pulled away. And it reminded me of how I felt when my grandmother used to pull away from me. And at 5, I had to sit down and tell her the truth. I said, that was so not about you. And I'm so sorry if I hurt your feelings. I didn't grow up getting hugs and kisses, and it's still a little weird for me. Do you know, she was so loving. At 5 years old, she could understand everything that I was saying. And she said, when I come home every day, let's kiss on the mouth. Girl, 5-year-olds and all their little cooties and stuff. I was like, child, I really don't want to do that. But at 5, maybe she was going on 6 years old, we committed to kissing, to having a kiss every day. And that started the process of me just like becoming comfortable with mother-daughter affection that I had never witnessed in my life. I was in my 30s when that happened.
That is not uncommon, Patrice. It is so sad. I did a survey on Instagram and it was well over 50% of Black women said they have never heard their mother say, I love you. So when we talk about all of these, Black women this and they so this and they so that, how would you be if the one person who literally is supposed to be the chief of your cheerleading committee has never said, I love you. And her version of showing you I love you is a tough love. I'm going to do what I got to do because I'm providing for you, or I'm too busy working, so I can't stop to really see you. It needs to be studied. This is not unique. Our experiences are not unique. I have also had my mother who can be affectionate with her grandkids, which I love that for them. I love that they get this new version. But the part that pisses me off is that even today, right now, today, Patrice, she can come into my house, say 1,000,000 I love yous to my sons, give them 100 kisses, and she still cannot give me a hug, a kiss. And if I say I love you, she'll say thanks. So my problem in my evolution and maturity and therapy is that there's a level of this that is conscious. At a certain point, we've had a conversation. I've explained my feelings. I've told you this is abnormal. I've told you this is toxic. I've told you how even in my big age, this is still affecting me. And you still consciously say thank you. There's a level that's just like, this is who I am. It is what it is type of thing. So it's deep. It is hurtful. But again, it comes down to us recognizing our issues and then being willing to be uncomfortable, because it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable, but you got to be willing to be uncomfortable so that the next generation can be comfortable when it comes to their kids.
Can I be honest with you? I really don't believe anything changes in those pillars until you are willing to take radical action. And sometimes that means you have to get out of the comfort zone that is your house right now. I want to invite you to Redefining Wealth Live. Take radical action and come and join me live in person October 6th through 8th, because this is going to be a transformative experience like no other. This is not a business conference, so we're not loading this with all the how-tos and to-dos and just strategy. This is about your soul. soul. Redefining Wealth Live is a vibrant gathering of spirit-led, like-hearted purpose chasers who come together to awaken, redefine, and actualize wealth in every area of their lives. The goal is to move you from autopilot to authenticity. So I want you to picture yourself leaving, not just inspired, but transformed. In our deeply connected community, we go beyond talking. We collaborate, we apply actionable insights, we work on our scripts, we get in our wisdom circles and really talk about our individual next steps. This is an unparalleled connection. There is clarity and confidence in that room that you want to apply to your life. You need this in order to bring your vision to life. So this is the room you want to be in, October 6th through 8th. I want to invite you to go to redefiningwealthlive.com right now to secure your spot. That's redefiningwealthlive.com right now. And when you do, you'll have access to our next bonus co-created connection call where you can learn from me well before the event and also start to connect with other attendees. You don't want to miss this. redefiningwealthlive.com. So outside of making sure that you're an intentional parent and you are changing that in your own lineage, why was it important for you to talk about it publicly? Because I still know that we come from households that are like, you keep people out our business. You already knew you would be shunned. You already knew people would rewrite history, not in your favor. And now you know that it's not necessarily changing how your mother interacts with you, although it's beautiful for your boys. Why talk about it?
It's not even about me. That is the thing that God has brought to my doorstep. Number one is that this is the key that's going to truly free me, because everything that I've done as an entrepreneur, as a woman, my relationships, my friendships, all of that comes down to the issue that I have with my mother. And so I know that me freeing myself from that issue is going to unlock, all of the things that I desire that I have not been able to get to. I just keep running into that brick wall. So personally, I feel that, me talking about it is truly freeing me. It is healing. It is such a therapeutic conversation to be heard, to be seen, to know that you're not crazy, to know that you're not the only one. So it is definitely healing personally, but me talking about it publicly, like on my podcast, it's bigger than me. The nearly 5,000 women who commented and said, I'm over here in tears. I'm a minute in and I'm already crying. No one has ever seen me. No one has ever provided me with the space to talk about this. I was in tears, y'all. And if you go and just scroll through the comments, it is hard to not break down in tears reading the stories of these women experiences. And I'm talking about from real life abuse to just the ugliest words that you wouldn't say this to a stranger in the street. Just the things that women have experienced. It taught me, hearing from those women taught me that this is so much bigger than me, that part of the healing process is just being heard. Part of the healing process is being able to acknowledge you have a problem, but it's hard to acknowledge that you have a problem if you think you're the only person with this problem. If you think you're the crazy one, if you think it's not really a problem, it's just a problem with how you're dealing with it. So many of us are suffering in silence because we think if we could just get over it. And so my platform has evolved, as you mentioned several times, and it's usually evolving as I evolve. And going after wealth, beautiful. Having multiple streams of income, awesome. But if you are not mentally, emotionally, spiritually well, all of that ish don't matter. Like, I don't want to be a public success and everybody thinks I got it going on, but privately I'm in tears because my mama didn't call me today, And so I am truly healing over here, not just for the gram, but I'm truly doing the healing work. And in doing my own personal work, I'm seeing that it is actually purpose work.
Girl, you just explained redefining wealth and why it exists. You already know. That's what I've been on for 7 years. And even in this last season, and I talked about this on your podcast, which, by the way, the time I came to the studio and we did a podcast a few years ago, girl, the way people demonized that conversation was so crazy. But we speak anyway, because we know, one, I'm always going to own my truth. You can never weaponize a story that I'm already willing to tell. So you're crazy. But anyway, what I realized in these last few years is that in order to redefine wealth, we must have an awakening. A lot of the behavior that we have experienced and endured, we've just been on autopilot with. And we've learned to romanticize. We've learned to rationalize. We've learned to over spiritualize, respect thy father and their mother, no matter how toxic or problematic they could be. And I'm not saying that means you be disrespectful, but it doesn't mean you have to let someone in your space who constantly is dishonoring you and not honoring your governing decisions. But that awakening piece is so needed before you can redefine anything for yourself. That awakening has to happen. You cannot start to actualize anything new in your life based on old traumas, old triggers, old beliefs, old habits, old behaviors that do not serve you. And so if this has been pervasive throughout your entire life, I know you said becoming a mother, but what was the awakened moment where you were just like, enough is enough? I cannot keep going like this.
You know what it was, Patrice? This is the real therapeutic version of okay? I've really been in therapy trying to work through this stuff, okay? And one of the things that I realized in life coaching and therapy is that I know I have mommy issues. I know I have issues with my sister. I did not realize that it was my mother driving the issues with my sister. I didn't realize that. I was just a non-player character, just being manipulated and being all of the things. My mom was at my house very recently over last Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving. And she was here in my home and ended up having a conversation in the other room, like right next door with my sister, and was basically like gossiping about me to my sister. And I had such a physical reaction to hearing my mother talking about me in my home to my sister that it was literally almost like a street fight. You know, like I still respect my mother. I would never physically harm my mother. I would never call my mother out of her name. But as close as you can get to that line, that's how close I got to that line. You know, I did everything but those things because I felt so disrespected. And not only did I feel disrespected in the moment, all that ran through my head was like, this is what's been going on my entire life. This is the root. This is it. All my life, y'all have been talking about me. Y'all have been. So it's like, I knew that, but to hear it, for it to be real, for it to not just be a figment of my imagination and me just being the victim and thinking that they're against me, like for me to really have confirmation that this is true. Y'all really have been talking about me and been whatever. That was like the moment where it was like, okay, this is who you are. This is what you choose to do in my home. Now I got to let it all out. So I didn't just go, you know, bop, 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 and I'm mad. I'm going to curse you out. I literally told my mother back to like 7 years old of just a laundry list of the times that I felt that you were not a good mother to me, you know, and I poured my heart out. I mean, I poured it out on the line. All of the things from top to bottom, I didn't hold back. And at the end of the conversation, it was very much so, well, it is what it is. It was very much so, that didn't happen like that. It was very much so, I don't remember that. It was very much, I'm not taking any accountability. And it was in that moment where it was like, okay, this is about me at this point. This is no longer about me trying to repair my relationship with you. This is about me healing my relationship with me and me really figuring out what lessons I need to learn, how to be the mother to myself that I obviously am not going to get in you, and freeing myself of the expectation of you to be somebody that you're not. And so that was like one of the hardest, the closest thing I can relate it to is like a breakup with a boyfriend. It's like you had this hope or you was going to marry this man and you thought you was going to ride off in the sunset, and you are facing reality that ain't this. And it was that experience that taught me that this is my mother, not who I want her to be, not the mama I wish I had, this is her, and you got to take it or leave it. And that was the moment.
Oh, as you were speaking, it was making me think, and you reference, it's like a breakup with a boyfriend. One of the things that I've learned in these last few years too is I get to deal with people based on what I know, not what I hope. And a lot of us end up in the cycle because we're ignoring what we know in favor of what we hope. Oh, I hope it all changes. I hope they turn around. They just don't know what this is doing to me. They're not clear. Oh, they had this upbringing. And then you finally have an opportunity to really confront or converse with someone about what it is. And then they say, yeah, and I'm not going to change. So that is what it is. And it's like, oh, I've been given all this grace. Talk about, oh, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I've been extending all of this grace for someone who literally doesn't give a damn
at all.
Oh, okay. Now I am empowered to take my next best step. And what it sounds like you said is you finally just chose you. I choose me.
There's still so much guilt in that though, because I wish I could say, and I stood on business and I ain't turned back. But baby, Christmas rolled around and my mama did not call me and I about had a breakdown, like a boyfriend not calling you on a holiday. So I say all of this. I am still in therapy. I am publicly having these conversations and I feel lighter every time I do, but this is still a very active wound. This is not, I don't think this is something that I will ever get over because the kids complicate things. Like I don't want my kids to not have a relationship with their grandmother because of my relationship with their grandmother. So there's so many layers to it that I, again, am just trying to be as intentional as I possibly can, but also still have very real feelings and still wishes, Now, am I having these expectations and my feelings going to be hurt? Hopefully not. Hopefully I've reached the point where you don't have that power anymore to hurt my feelings or have me sitting at the window waiting, so to speak. But it still is a very active healing journey.
Hey, podcast family, big news. I've just launched a game-changing app designed exclusively for you. It is officially the Redefining Wealth app with Patrice Washington. Now, all of my courses, coaching, live streams, and most importantly, my community are just a tap away, all under one roof. You can download the app now for seamless access to exclusive content and a vibrant community of purpose chasers from all over the world. This is the ultimate hub for all things Patrice Washington and all things redefining wealth. You can search for it in your app store or find the link at redefiningwealth.app. That's redefiningwealth.app. Do not miss out. Your journey to redefining wealth just got a whole lot easier. Download the app today and let's take this adventure of redefining wealth for ourselves to the next level together. So what's the biggest lesson you have learned in this healing journey when it comes to forgiveness?
Oh, I've learned that it's not a destination. It's a path. It's like you're on the path to forgiveness, but I don't know. And this might be because I'm not, mature enough or something, but I be holding grudges. Like I can never talk to you ever again in life and be totally fine and not wish anything bad on you, but get out of my face. I never want to see you again. So I have not gotten yet to the level of forgiveness where I can truly forgive you. And then I can be cordial with you and I can have a relationship with you as if you didn't just do that thing that I really know that you just did.
Ko, I don't know that that's required for forgiveness.
Oh, okay. Maybe I got the wrong definition.
Yeah, I don't know that sitting up in your face or allowing you to be in my face is required for forgiveness. To me, two things. So for me, forgiveness has meant giving up the possibility of a better past. So what it allows me to do is not rehearse the offense over and over and over again. So kind of like the story that you told about Thanksgiving, for a season, if not up until this point, you kind of rehearse it and go, I should have said this and then I should have did that. And I'd lament what I did say or what I should have said. And you just go over and over and over again. And it's almost like it just keeps reopening the wound. We get upset all over again. And now I got to call and talk to somebody about it. Now my $200 a session for therapy is on something I've been talking about over and over again. It's like, for me, forgiveness is like, I will not keep rehearsing that past because in the rehearsing, I am hurting myself. And so I'm choosing to release that because I'm accepting, I know what happened. I'm not dealing with you based on what I hope. I'm not romanticizing what I experienced. I'm being real about that. And I'm just not going to keep rehearsing it. Doesn't mean that you get to be in my presence, because my presence is sacred. To be in community with me is a sacred thing. I am amazing. And if I get to share space with you and you get to share space with me, that's a blessing. Everybody don't get that. That's how I feel. Everybody doesn't get that. So just because I am expressing a level of forgiveness, it's like, okay, if I came into your room and you were on life support, I forgive you. I wouldn't pull the cord. I probably also would not come visit, but I wouldn't pull the cord. I'm not holding a grudge to the point where I want to see something bad happen to you, because vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. I shall repay. That's one thing. And the second thing with forgiveness is, for me, in my experience, I've learned to have compassion for people who operate so poorly in the world. I just feel that the seeds that we sow really do come back around. We will harvest, right? We will reap what we sow. And I tend to see it as the actions that people choose. And now, mind you, we are all the villain in someone's story. So there might be something that I've done to people knowingly or unknowingly, and I'm going to have to answer for that one day. But more times than not, I try not to be on that side of it. With people, when I'm talking about forgiveness, I'm like, I don't really have to do much because God got you. I just have to believe that you done sown enough seeds that I don't have to do anything. I don't desire to do anything. I don't wish ill for you, but just the law of sowing and reaping, you already gonna get yours. And unfortunately, in our family relationships, and I'm not saying this about your mother or anybody's mother for this matter, but I have seen, heard, read a lot about how many people die alone. And the people that die alone without being surrounded by their children, by their families, by friends that love them, to me, that says a lot about the seeds that they sowed while they had the stamina, the energy, the youth to do it. So I don't have to do anything. It will come back.
I saw a quote that said, the way you treated your children as kids is the way they're going to treat you as adults. And I said, oh,
facts.
That's it right there. That's facts. Yeah, that's facts. That is absolutely facts. So yes, it is absolutely going to come back around. It's, again, just that added layer of it being your mama that make it a little tricky.
I'm so sorry that that's the experience. But what I do really want to honor you for is you seeing this as you see everything. Like I said in the beginning, you've constantly been someone that as you grow in an area, you are so willing to share and bring other women along and illuminate new possibilities for women. You have done it through your magazines, through your podcast, through your events, through everything that you put your hands to. Your heart to use whatever you have experienced, whatever you are currently healing from, to be a blessing to others is beautiful. And I do hope that there is restoration ahead for you all. And if there is not, I don't believe this happened to you. I believe that it happened for you because you were a voice that would always be out here proclaiming the good truth. Like, I think some of us get to experience these things because God knows he can use us, that I wouldn't keep the lessons to myself, that I would use these lessons to be a blessing to other people and to heal myself in the process. And so, friend, you're doing a good work. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy, and you're not making it look easy. You're not making it sound easy. However, you are making it an accessible conversation, and that is so needed.
Thank you. It really does start with having the conversation, just acknowledging for yourself, not even having the expectation of getting acknowledgement or understanding from anyone else, but really being willing to do that work for yourself is super important. And I know for sure that if I did not have the upbringing that I had, I would not have pushed myself to perform. I would not have pushed myself to make myself, or my mama, it might have been her I was trying to impress, but I would not have that in me if those were not my circumstances. So I absolutely know that it is beneficial for me and it's going to be a blessing for somebody else.
I was going to let you go, but you just brought up something that I have to ask. And that is, do you ever fear that your children won't be as ambitious because they are not necessarily living in trauma and survival?
Every day. This is an active thought. It's an active thought. Even aside from the trauma, we know the statistics about kids who grow up in undesirable circumstances versus those that have the silver spoon. Like, these are literal thoughts every single day, to the point where I'm like, yo, do I want to make these kids feel like we're poor just so that they can have some hustle about them? Like, do I want to move into an apartment, a lower, like whatever that looks like, downgrade our lifestyle so that they feel like I got to get it out the mud? Like, I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but I definitely don't want to be out here raising no entitled kids. Now, am I about to pretend to be a toxic parent so that they can be ambitious? Absolutely not. But I do know that there is benefit in having to figure it out and not have somebody just hand it to you. So yes, Patrice, I am absolutely terrified that I'm going to raise kids in a healthy environment and they're going to grow into like horrible people. I don't know. It's hard out here. Parenting is so hard.
You know what I will offer you, friend? And of course, you can text me anytime. But what I will offer you, because I get the privilege and the honor of watching my daughter at this age and stage. When she was little, that was a concern. I grew up in the hood. She grew up in the suburbs. I was ducking from drive-by. She's doing all the things. She's getting on private jets. Like, we were barely making it, and she's traveling first class to the Philippines. And I said, oh my God, what are we doing? We are setting ourselves up. And I remember one time she said, oh, mommy, I love you so much. She called me mom. Mom, I love you so much. I'm going to live with you forever. And I said, well, the devil is a lie. I must just start doing something now, because she's comfortable. I grew up saying, I got to get out of here. And she's talking about, I'm going to live with you forever. We are not the same. But what I learned is giving voice to truth does start with our children. And it does start with bringing them into the conversations about how we're able to afford these things, how we're able to make these things happen, even when things go wrong, even when things go poorly, when we have to release someone from our team, or when we sunset a business or program to start a new thing, or when we move. We involved her with, why are we moving from California back to Georgia after being there in this $3 million house for 4 years? All of these things she's been involved with, and also recognizing it never made me a bad mother to say no. I would say no to her often because I wanted to put a demand on her creativity. So just because we got it, that doesn't mean it's in the bag for you. And I will tell you, watching Reagan now, a couple months ago, this kid made like $1,000. She's a photographer. And she sold her services on her Instagram to take graduation photos for some friends. And then that turned into her taking graduation photos at people's grad parties in May of this year. And I've just watched her get jobs on her own. As soon as she got a car, she was like, I'm going to apply for jobs. See y'all later. I got 2 of them. Help me choose between the 2. Then she said, oh, this hourly rate's not going to get it. Let me pick up my, let me go ahead and pick up that camera so I can charge what I want and still have flexibility. And she's watching it. So they are watching us. And I do believe that we can model the best. But if I would give you anything, tell them the truth at the level that they can understand at that time. And never feel like you're a bad mother for saying no and making them figure it out. Nurture the no. I would tell her no in a heartbeat and let her figure it out. And it's been a blessing because we want them to figure it out why they do have us. I don't want to wait until you go to college or you get out in the real world. And now I want to start teaching lessons, girl. And let them do stuff on their own. Reagan made all her own orthodontist appointments. She made her own dental appointments because it taught her how to talk to adults, how to get on the phone, how to ask for what she needs, how to state like what her desires are. Since 3rd grade, I have not sent an email or a letter to the school on her behalf. When she got her first email account in 3rd grade, by 4th grade, I was like, you send the email. What do I say? I'll dictate, but I won't send the email for you. That was the best thing I could have done. And when people were like, oh, you're being too harsh, now their kids don't know how to talk to adults. So whether you thought I was being too harsh or whatever, my kid knows how to take care of business. And that's on period.
I'm going to tell these little boys no 10 times before they go to sleep tonight. Just on you, Patrice. Thank you for freeing me.
Look, now I'm going to get more comments. I would say make sure you share this with your community and definitely share with us what you have going on in the world in this season. But I don't know who those people were in them last comments. I said, let me click away from here. These folks done lost
Get out
it.
of there. Yeah, that was there. Yeah, they were wild. They were wilding on that one. People on this internet, But no, I am so honored to be here on the Redefining Wealth platform. And I would love, love, love for your people to come on over and stay connected with me. I am knee deep in rolling out, planning the programming for my nonprofit. It's called For the Culture Foundation. If y'all know anything about me, you know I am hella Black and hella proud. And I am all about advocating for the Black community. And so we are rolling out some programs this fall. We just launched our biggest fundraiser, which is an online apparel shop. And all of the proceeds from your purchase goes directly into supporting our nonprofit programming. So you can learn more and grab your tea at thecurefortheculture.com. And of course, I'm at Koeryelle on all social platforms. And if y'all are podcast listeners and lovers, which I know you are, then go ahead and type in Girl Stop Playing in your favorite podcast app so that we can stay connected and I can help you stop playing with your potential.
Love it, Koeryelle. You know, I love you. I have loved you a long time. And I'm so, again, just proud of you for
Thank you.
How you are showing up in the world, my friend. Thank you for blessing us today. You guys, this episode was all about our giving voice to truth theme that we've had going on all month. And I hope it just illuminated for you that sometimes, even when it's our family and it's hard, we get to be radically honest about what our experiences were, not for the sake of just kicking up dust, but for the sake of our own healing. And the only thing that heals generational trauma is to stop being folks that will sweep things under the rug and praise longevity, not acknowledge toxicity. We have to start with truth, no matter how difficult it is. And at the minimum, truth to ourselves first. It's not necessarily that you have to get on a podcast and share, but you do have to be honest with yourself and get the support you need to heal. So love you guys so much. So grateful for you being here. All of Koeryelle's info will be in the show notes. And until next week, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and continue to earn more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. We'll talk to you later.